Hey there, Sharon Horne-Ellstrom here. Welcome to day 1725 of What's She Up To Now, documenting the business journey as I transitioned originally in 2017 from the brick and mortar corporate world of business over a quarter century in corporate America, while simultaneously running and working and owning, working in and on, mostly in but then on, my own businesses on the side, and it's been almost 5 decades now. And in 2017, following my divorce, I decided, what am I going to do now? I was old enough to retire, but I still have a lot of energy, so I didn't really want to just quit doing anything. So I thought, always been curious about the internet. I'm going to hop on and figure out what I can figure out and see what it's all about. And so it's been a really fun journey for the last 18, 19, 20, 21, 5+ years, learning about the internet, learning about the online world, what's different, what's similar, how can we combine and mesh the two? Because I have for a long time believed, although I didn't do it myself when I was in the offline world, primarily, well actually only in the offline world, I didn't have an online presence. I wasn't involved in the internet, I wasn't really involved in social media. I dabbled and I explored a couple of little things, but I never really applied it to what I was doing in the offline world. And so it gave me the opportunity to say, okay, well, what am I going to do now? After we divided up all of our assets and sold and got rid of all of our businesses together, it was like, okay, what am I interested in? And I'd always been curious about the internet, so I hopped on and started out in ClickFunnels as a certified partner because I wanted to use it for my own businesses and for my own education, not because I wanted to build funnels for people, which I have rarely done. Once in a while I'll help people with funnels, and I coach people through how to build their own funnels and do it, but I don't build funnels or have an agency or do it for other people. Not the model or anything that I was ever interested in doing. Suppose I could build an agency, might be kind of an interesting new endeavor, but it's not on my radar right now. So today we are talking about, in the annual challenge, I do an annual challenge every year. I learned from Russell Brunson and Steve Larson that it's important to publish and create content. So for the last 5 years, I have been doing an annual challenge. And this year's annual challenge is called the BU 365-Day Challenge, where we do one thing every day that improves us. And I structured it along the lines of a 9-part life framework that I've been using. I added 2. It was a 7-part life framework for decades for me, and I really started applying it. I used it softly for a lot of years to set my personal goals and objectives and my business's goals and objectives. But it wasn't until 2010, following my sudden cardiac arrest, that I really decided I needed to make massive lifestyle changes, and I had to have a framework to do that. So I used the 7-part life framework that I give Tony Robbins credit for who I learned it from. I honestly don't remember who and where I got it from originally, because it was back in the 80s when I started after college, kind of my lifelong learning journey. And I took a lot of courses and a lot of seminars and a lot of webinars and worked with a lot of gurus and mentors and coaches. And so after you get a certain age, you start to forget, who did I actually originally learn this thing from? And if you're like me, sometimes I had to hear things 5, 10, 15, 20, 100 times before it actually sunk in and I applied the thing that I learned. And maybe it took me hearing it different ways. I was the same way in school and in college. In my engineering classes, there were things I would read the same paragraph 20, 30 times before I actually understood and could think about it in different ways to have it make sense to me. So I don't know where I originally got it, but last year I was in a coaching program where we focused on core skills and core abilities, and 2 of those that really hit home to me were confidence and communication. And so I added those categories, and now I use a 9-part life framework that I set my goals, my long-term lifetime legacy, in my wildest dreams, what would I want, and then I break those down into little teeny bite-sized pieces, so that I've got my 10-year, 20-year, 10-year, 5-year, 1-year goals, and then I break those 1-year goals down to smaller and smaller pieces, so I can figure out what can I do every day to be automatically moving me toward those goals and objectives. And I teach and share that in the annual challenge, how I do that, how I actually do that. And what I am personally doing, and part of what I'm doing, is this annual challenge. I do an annual challenge because I know that if I just do one little tiny thing every day, it will automatically move me toward what I want in the different areas and aspects of my life. And it will automatically help me to become a better version of myself. And that's one of my primary drivers, is continuous improvement and always being a better version of myself. Does it mean I don't have bad days? No. It means sometimes I have bad days and I forgive myself and I learn from them and I move on. So our topic for today, we're focusing on, we ran through the first 9 months of the year, this year, and the annual challenge. We focused on one of each of those 9 areas in the life framework in pretty strong detail. And October, November, and December, we're doing something a little bit, not a little bit different, a lot different. We're not focusing on any one area of the life framework. Again, physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, financial, relationships, contribution, communication, and confidence are the 2 areas I added last year. We're doing different things. So right now we're spending about 3 weeks doing different paradoxes. I am fascinated by words and language and communication and what things mean and how we say them, etc. I really want to learn more about storytelling. I just haven't hit my priority list yet. But one of the things I like is understanding what things mean to me, and that what they mean to me might not be what they mean to you. That's why I do an idiom every day for my Supersize Your Business group, because I think one of the most important business skills and leadership skills we can have when we're building and growing and supersizing our business is to understand things that we hear, things that other people hear, and that we don't necessarily understand things and use them in the same way as other people we come in contact with. And I think that it's important to have that as a daily reminder, and to look at different things and words and idioms I like, because they're words that are put together that mean something different when they're put together and in our language, and I do mine in English, than the words individually mean. And they're brought down through the culture, they're adopted by the people, in this case in English in America. I'm sure other countries have idioms and expressions of way of saying things too. And understanding that makes us better communicators. Better communicators are better leaders. It's easier to be a better leader if you are flexible and understanding and can communicate in different ways. So our idiom today was in spades, meaning a lot. Our paradox today was what I call the supply paradox, and it says, the more available something is to us, the less we want it, which reminds me of supply and demand, and got to thinking about and sharing, all right, what is something we have a lot of in our life, and do we want more of that, or do we want that, or is it because we have a lot of it, we don't want it? And I think of, we got a lot of work to do, that brings on more stress, so we probably want less of that, right? So the more work we have to do, the less we want. The more clothes I have, the less I want, right? And I know I need to get rid of some. I tend to be a pack rat, clutterer, hoarder. Couldn't imagine that from my background, right? I save things, and I get too much of stuff sometimes, and then I want to get rid of it, and I start to get rid of it. I used to collect teddy bears for the longest time, and then I got to the point where I had so many of them, it became more of a burden, and I got really, really picky about the ones I acquired, and then I finally started to just let them go, and I only kept a few that I really, really like my sudden cardiac arrest bear. He's always with me. So that's what we were thinking about today. And, you know, the whole economic supply and demand and how supply curves work. And, you know, we could get into economics, which is, you know, something I study, but I'm definitely not going to go into detail on when I'm doing a content video for my audiences. It's overkill, and it's especially overkill for the annual challenge. All we're thinking about today is there something in my life that I have a lot of, and do I have too much of anything in my life? I personally have too much of several things in my life, and this is okay. After downsizing 2 years ago by 90%, I still have too much of certain things in my life. I have a whole storage unit I haven't been to. I went to it once this year. I didn't go to it, I don't know if I went to it at all last year. I might have gone once to get the Christmas tree out or the Christmas decorations. But for the most part, it is just sitting there, and I purposely decided this year I was not going to deal with it, but probably next year I'm going to have to deal with it, because guess what? There's a plethora of stuff in that storage unit that I obviously don't need if I haven't gone there for but once a year since I've gotten it, right? All right, if I can help you anyways, ask. Otherwise, go out and have an awesome day, and I will, of course, be with you tomorrow.